I don't claim to be the most talented investor. There's far better. In fact, Graham Stephan has even proved that a monkey's better than the average person.
A monkey could beat the stock market.
Pick them out.
But in this video, I'm going to take you through my worst investment to date, something I'm still living with, something that still haunts me to this day, but what it's taught me and what valuable lessons you can learn from it as well. My first investments were on Vanguard at the age of 24 years old in 2 index funds. The point of this was for me to start investing and just get comfortable with it. And although I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own research, in general, I just wanted to get comfortable with the actual sort of investing process, and it was a way for me to get started rather than wonder about investing my money for the next 10 years and get nowhere with it. But that's not why we're here. I got confidence, so I opened an account with Trading 212. So this was about 6-7 months later in November of 2020. But that's where I started my investments. I think initially investing in stocks in Cineworld, EasyJet, Wetherspoons, Neo, Tesla, and General Electric. Eventually I came across this company. It was founded in 2004 when they managed to reuse the same aircraft to fly up to space, come down and land on 2 separate occasions. Aircraft, spacecraft, spacecraft. Goes up and flies.
Perfect landing.
It's mission accomplished for the first privately financed manned spaceflight.
But this particular company is known for everything from airlines, trains, media, money, banking, and of course, if it doesn't ring any bells, it is Virgin Galactic. How much did I lose from them? Stick around to find out.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The easiest way to explain it is you have a bigger aircraft attached to a smaller aircraft. So the bigger aircraft will fly up to a high altitude with the small aircraft attached. And then when it reaches the right altitude, it will release the small aircraft, which also has a rocket in it. That rocket will ignite and propel it to the edge of the atmosphere.
Release.
So the bigger one is the VMS Eve. So the Eve will fly to 50,000 feet. The smaller one is the Unity, and the Unity will be attached to the Eve. Once it reaches 50,000 feet, it will release the Unity where the rocket will ignite and propel it to the edge of the atmosphere. The VMS Eve comes down, lands. The Unity obviously continues up to space where customers can experience weightlessness, they can experience space, before the Unity then also comes down and it can land to be reused in the future. Hopefully I got the names right, because if I'm honest, I've kind of lost track at this point. But from 2004, there are a lot of barriers for them to overcome, from legal to operational, research and development. But in June 2023, they completed their first commercial space flight with paying customers. So up to date, they have completed 6 successful missions now, generating over $1.7 million. But that is revenue. So they're actually operating at a net loss of 105 million, and that was in Q3. There was a lot of questions as to if they could sustain these types of losses on a regular basis. For a lot of investors, this was a speculative play. They're waiting for the Delta class generation of spacecraft, which means more seats basically, so you can generate more money, but it means that they can be operated more frequently and more quickly. That's when they aim to sort of be profitable. The downside is it's in 2026.
That's a bummer. Okay.
As with a lot of young kids, the idea of space appealed to me, lying back, looking up at the stars, but it's the potential behind it. Not only is it the tourism element of people paying to fly up into space, it's research, it's training for astronauts. They're working with a lot of air forces, they're working with NASA, but it's future travel as an example, the ability to travel across the world in half the time. That is why I invested in December of 2020 on Virgin Galactic. I initially invested on the 9th of December, so it was at a time when it was about $30. In my head, this was when it wasn't flying. They still had a lot of development. The FAA still weren't allowing them to fly. So there was a lot of positive signs in my eyes. I continued to invest. sort of from that initial sort of entry at about $30 to the point where now, so this dotted line is where I'm at today, with an average price of about $7.73. But then over time, it just seemed to drop. So there was a massive drop here. This was round about when Richard Branson flew up on the first fully crewed flight. I thought that would have a lot of good sort of reaction from it, but then it went up a couple of dollars. But then over time, it just seemed to drop and drop. This was when sort of in 2023, we start to have the 4th, the 5th, the 6th successful space flight. So on the 2nd of November this year, there you go, round about then, they had their 6th successful space flight in 6 months. But if you just look at that stock price, there isn't many big changes at all, which is a real shame. I continue to invest when others were fearful. I continue to dollar cost average, but a few weeks ago it hit its lowest point. It absolutely tanked. My average price was $7.73. It hit $1.37. So of my £2,006 that I had invested in this stock, I had lost £1,634. That is an 81% decrease on my money. That wasn't a good day. So what are my plans for the future? Well, I still believe in the mission. I still believe the stock price could be higher. I'm going to continue holding in my position, but I'm not going to buy more at this point. Maybe if there's a lot of benefits and a lot of potential in the future, then I'll start buying in again. But at the minute, my plan is just to hold. So lesson number 1. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own research, but it's diversify. So diversification is investing in a variety of different stocks over different industries. That means if one drops, then another one can balance it out. I did do this with Virgin Galactic, meaning that the loss wasn't so bad, but some say investing in at least 25 different stocks. But this is why an index fund is also good, because it invests in loads of different stocks, which means it is considered a less risky investment. Now for lesson number 2, and that is time in the market beats timing the market. All this says is in a majority of cases, it works out better to be invested for the long term rather than trying to buy at all the best points and sell at all the best points. If I throw up an example on the screen, but just as an example, in these circumstances, if you stayed invested for 15 years based on sort of the returns, that's how much you'd have. You get about 10.66% return on your money, rather than if you try to time the market and buy and sell at all the best points. If you just miss the 10 best days over that period, then you can see that your returns massively drop. And again, over time, it just massively hurts the amount of returns you'll be getting. But you can see in terms of timing the market, if you get it right, there's not a lot of upside. But if you get it wrong, there's a lot of downside. So it's not worthwhile for a lot of people unless you're able to predict the future, in which case, feel free to get in touch. And finally for lesson number 3, and that's dollar cost averaging. So that's simply where you buy and invest at regular intervals, whether that's weekly, every couple of weeks, monthly. But by doing this, you remove the emotional aspect of the purchase. You'll have those days where the price is a little bit higher, you'll have those days where it's lower, but it will balance out. But by removing that emotion, you're more likely to get positive returns in the long run out of dollar cost averaging. If you use these tips, it'll be the best way to improve your chances, maximize your returns that you're getting on your investments. Now, the next question to look at is, do you have a savings account? If you do, check out this video up next, which explains why saving your money is absolutely ruining you and the best way to go about it. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.